Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments and we're doing something a little bit different today. Whereas we usually bring you just 4 brand new decks, today instead only one of these decks is brand new, never before seen on the channel. Instead we're going to look at what I played, what I did the best with this season on ladder. So this is 5 decks, the 5 decks that I had the highest win rate with on ladder in Marvel Snap. We're also going to learn a little bit about my play patterns and give some tips about how I climbed and what I did throughout the video. So let's get started with the first deck. This is technically the highest win rate I had. This is from our friend Thursday 4. He named it Bird and Bat. And I love this list. There is a version that Crazy has that's relatively similar. Instead of running Craven and Cloak, it runs the two season passes from January and February, Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson. And instead of Vulture, it runs Spider-Man 2099. I'm gonna just say, I like this version an awful lot better. The logic here is that Vulture just gets really, really big, sort of incidentally in this deck, and it gives you an extra body in a way that this deck really, really does like. Plus, the unpredictability of Cloak is always very powerful. You can find Thursday Snap at that name on Blue Sky. This deck needs Madam Web and Red Wing. If you do have those two cards, you should be good to go. Aranya here can be Iron Fist, Red Hulk can be Magneto, and Makari can be Wasp. Let's go through the card by card and explain what the heck we're doing here and why we're doing it this way. So let's kick it off with Aranya. Aranya and Ghost Spider are your one-time movers, right? One-time movers mean that they're immediately going to make Vulture a threat. Vulture with just the Ghost Spider is now in 11 power lane. With Aranya, it's 11 alone, or it's 13 if you move it to Aranya. That's just a threat immediately. Of course, you can also use it with Red Wing. That tends to happen later in the game. If you're using it with Red Wing, that tends to be turn 4 or 5. Because of the presence of Cloak, you don't have to sort of over-index on that, though. You can just sort of drop Red Wing on either Madam Web or with a Cloak in hand and worry about that kind of play later, and it ends up taking care of itself. That play also ends up being a second move to Vulture, which is very, very strong. A second move to Vulture puts it up to 15 power. Now it's bigger than Magneto. Now it's Giganto sized, right? It's now a lane winning absolute monster of a threat, and you still have your Infinauts and Red Hulks and Gigantos to come down. Madam Web is your repetitive mover. She is just, if you can play her, you just sort of drop everything on her and move a card a turn. Even if you don't really need to, you just move a card a turn to just sort of like keep things going, make your opponent have to figure out where they're going to use their power. What's really nice about Madam Web is Cloak does essentially the same job as Madam Web in this deck almost entirely, but people don't know what you're doing early, and so they Red Guardian the crap out of Madam Web. And Dracula is the real threat. Dracula is like how you win, while Madam Web is just a nice bonus, and that's a very, very cool way to get extra cubes. Craven gets reasonably big in here. This deck, he's not huge. He's like, I mean, he's fairly big for a 2-drop. He's like a 2/7, 2/9, and that's not very hard to do. You play him in a lane that you might want to move things to. You move things on him. You move a Vulture there once, a Red Wing there once. All of a sudden, he's a 2/5, and then when you cloak on turn 5-ish, when you move things over to that cloak, he ends up being like a 2/7, 2/9. Not bad, right? You'll happily take those stats you do from Sam Wilson. Craven gets you there too. I keep talking about Cloak. Cloak is like the secret weapon to this list. Um, it doesn't matter which lane. There's no Heimdall in this list, right? So in Heimdall list, you always want to keep the right lane clear because that's where you want to cloak. All that really matters is that you keep one lane relatively clear with this list. It doesn't matter if it's you want to play either center and mid or mid and right. You want to keep sort of one of the corners free. You drop cloak in either one of those. That's going to let you move a Red Wing over and get you that power. That's going to let you move Vulture over and get you that power. And it's just going to make everything wildly, wildly unpredictable. You can also, if that lane was empty, move Craven first, and then you move two other cards on Craven. That's +4 to Craven. And if you got anything else, you now have a 2/9 Craven. So that seems like a pretty good play. Yeah? Vulture we discussed, just huge. Makari is here because it mostly doesn't get in the way of Red Wing. That's why it can be Wasp so easily. The entire goal for this list is for Red Wing to end up hitting Red Hulk, Giganto, or Infinite. If Makari is not in hand, then it can't be pulled by Red Wing. That's it. Red Wing, it's fairly easy for Red Wing to get down to the end of the game, only having those big cards in hand. Generally speaking, once more, you're trying to do that around turn 5. This deck is fairly cheap, and once in a while, you're just going to sort of end up wasting your like Ghost Spider on turn 5 in order to be able to make sure Red Wing hits the right thing. That's totally fine. Get Red Wing to hit a giant card, have Dracula in another location, and you should be relatively smooth as far as winning goes. Dracula, again, if we can get down to just big things in hand with Red Wing, we can also get down to either all or all but one big thing in hand with Dracula. That means we have two big cards for 3 and 4 energy. That seems like a good deal. We have three big cards for 3 and 4 energy if we want to count Vulture, which again is a crazy good deal. Meanwhile, we have four big cards for 2, 3, and 4 energy if you want to count Craven being like a 9, which is honestly not much worse than Red Hulk in certain situations. All right, Red Hulk is big. He's a 6'10 that can be a 6'13, 6'16, 6'19, right? Great stats. We love Red Hulk. It's very strong. Giganto, same thing, 6'14. Plus, if you end up playing Cloak on the right or the mid, you can play Giganto on the left as they think you're moving everything out of there, and it's kind of hilarious because no one ever expects Giganto. People do play around 12 power, they don't really play around 14. Giganto's extra power does steal games, also a little bit better for Dracula. And then Infinite, you're basically never playing. Infinite's here for Dracula and Red Wing unless you get extra lucky, but that's the gist of it. So I went 16-3 with this list. This is one of the lists I played the single most this season, which is going to tell you something. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how many games of Snap I played this season. It's going to tell you that I don't play more than 28 games with the deck as a general rule. Largely because I have a lot to test because of the channel, which means I do have a really large sampling of a lot of decks. Oh, sorry, a large sampling of decks, but not a large sampling of games with each deck. But I went 16-3 for an 84% win rate with this deck just this season. I had a really high win rate with it last season. This is one of my best decks ever. So turn 1, you want Aranya. Turn 2, Madam Web over Craven. And Madam Web with any of the movers is often going to be a snap. People are also just going to think you're a move deck, and if they don't have an early if they don't have an early Red Guardian and you play Mana Web, they're just often going to run, and then you get some free wins that way. Craven is perfectly fine to play. Just remember to keep Craven somewhere you might want to move cards. Turn 3, you want Vulture or Red Wing if you're going to move. You need to, if like I would hold Vulture or Red Wing if I didn't have Madame Web or Cloak or Aranya down, right? You need one of those things before you drop them, but if you can, then you drop them, move them. Turn 4, Dracula or move a 3. And if you're Draculaing, you're probably snapping. Dracula is, again, your key card here. It's really easy to get down to just Dracula in hand. There are, of course, games where just like all the big cards hide at the bottom of the list. Fine, that happens. But you're still snapping on Dracula to press your advantage. Please note Mana Web and Dracula in white because they're snap conditions. Turn 5 is the same as 4. Remember that this is the excellent Cloak turn. If you're going to do Cloak and Craven things, you can play them in different lanes. You can move Craven over and then get 2 extra buffs on Craven. Again, 2/7 is a lot of stats. If you're moving Vulture or Red Wing, you're getting even more stats than that. That is a 1 lane. That you can still snap on turn 5 just fine. Turn 6, you're generally speaking playing Gigant or Rolk. There are games where you're just going to have to drop Dracula, or games where you're going to drop like a Red Wing and a Ghost Spider on this turn. That's not the ideal. You generally speaking want to just drop one of your big cards on turn 6, leaving another big card in hand for Dracula to win you the game. This list is beautiful. I don't know, like I had an 84% win rate. I feel like that should go without saying. This is one of my very best decks this season, and thank you to Thursday for sending it to me. Before we get to the deck I actually had even more success, I want you to know that we're giving away a season pass. It's not this season pass though. This is the beginning of our Captain Carter giveaway. And I want you to know, because people are like, hey, can you let us know? Yesterday's video, the new season video, has the last Agamotto giveaway winner. This video, you have to sub, like, comment if you want to win Captain Carter, and I'll tell you what comment to make later this video. Actually, on the very last slide, when we get, well, the last slide when we go over my season as a whole. Please hit that sub button if you're inclined, if you would like to win that season pass, obviously, but also because we give you 7 days a week of Marvel Snap content. This is going to be a huge week. New season always is. We've got to cover all the frickin' new cards. We will cover them more thoroughly than anyone. We will give you extra videos. We will make sure that everything that you could possibly need for your Marvel Snap journey is completely covered. Please hit that sub, like, and comment. It means the absolute world to have your support in doing so. All right, my best deck this season was this one. This is Rorgrim's Lokimoto deck. This one is absolutely stellar. I don't know. I feel like I have game into everything. This used to run Gwenpool, and it has since cut Gwenpool in order to just run Juggernaut again, and it's been absolutely stellar. In 2 weeks, this is all I'm gonna play. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut Eitri and Quinjet, and I'm going to run Zabu, and I'm going to run Kahori, and then I'm going to cut one of my 2 drops, and I'm going to run Kate Bishop, and just get ready, because like maybe I'll cut Copycat at that point, sure, but like get ready, I'm gonna have a good time. I'm very, very excited for this. I don't know how to explain how excited I am for that to happen, but right now this list dominated for me. By the way, I won an infinity border with this too. You can find that on stream from a few days ago. Who remembers what stream? I stream a lot. All right, you can find the creator of this list at twitch.tv/RoarumPlays. Go check out Roarum. Tell him I sent you. Roarum is awesome. He's a top 20 player in the world and just a really, really nice person. The only high series card you really need here is Galacta, although some of the replacements are just other high series cards, unfortunately. Ms. Marvel can be Gwenpool. In a bit, that can also be Kahori, I think. Loki and King Itri can be Zebu and Kate. Rocket and Groot, Copycat, Red can be Red Guardian, Mobius. Pick your poison as far as threes go. You can also have Kate replace one of them. Kate Bishop, that is. Agamotto can be Hope Summers or Enchantress. Agamotto's really good here, but not terribly important. This is easily the best Agamotto felt for me all season. All right, so King Itri is amazing with Loki. King Itri is amazing with Agamotto. That's it. That's why he's here, right? You'd want him to either you play Loki, and then if you've got Itri, you get an extra draw out of it, or you get one of your Agamotto spells, right? You get an Ancient Arcana for free for playing Itri. The Ancient Arcana obviously also have extra use, particularly the images of Icon, where once Itri has been used, he's now just a 1-2, right? So you can turn him into a Ms. Marvel or a Galacta in order to win you a game. That's pretty good. Loki is just an auto win. Sometimes I don't often Loki on turn one. I especially this week where it's a very very heavy discard week. But I did beat 2 discards on my way to an infinite border with this list. What you do with Loki is you play him if your opponent either has Sam Wilson. If the opponent has a Sam Wilson shield on the board, you're relatively safe to Loki. They're playing a deck that if you steal it, you're good. If you have King Itri and that, then you can do that in Snap, right? Or Quinjet and that, you can do that in Snap. But Loki's other real use here, Loki's other real power is if you see any extra cards in the deck. If your opponent's Arisham, Thanos, or another Agamotto list, you know that being able to Loki them is going to give you an advantage because they're playing a mid-range deck. You now have their mid-range deck with a better curve, and you should be able to win that game, and thus Loki is there for that. Outside of that, you play Loki sort of toward the end of the game. Loki's perfectly fine as a 1-drop at the end, which you do sort of want. Like, this deck would love a Kitty Pryde, it just doesn't have space, because you just need a card to, like, sometimes you have 2 or 3 Galacta, right? Because of Icon, you just want to be able to throw a Galacta into a Loki, and as if it's a 1-5, all of a sudden it's a real threat, right? It's a 1-8, oh my god. Quinjet is here for 2 reasons. You don't really want to run Quinjet just for Loki. You don't really want to run Quinjet just for Agamotto. But if you have both, then Quinjet all of a sudden makes all the sense in the world. And hey, we have both. Added bonus, Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot has gotten worth since his nerf. It feels like Toxic. I asked Toxic Soul King, another top player, this. It feels like 1 out of every 5 games, it really does make a difference, but he is still an absolute nightmare. He's still one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. I still have him in the top 3 cards. Iron Patriot's still incredible. Let's do it now. I don't think Iron Patriot actually shows up again in this video, but either way, Iron Patriot is often a snap condition. If you win an Iron Patriot lane, you should strongly consider snapping, unless your opponent has Mobius, obviously, because your opponent should, generally speaking, run, because unless they have their absolute best plays, you could have anything in the game, and it's impossible for them to play around it. All right, Sam Wilson is a 2-8. We talked about how good a 2-7 was last deck. 2-8 is even better. Sam has 2 extra uses here. One, he basically guarantees you get to trigger Ms. Marvel unless some other locations mess you up. Even Squirrels won't mess you up with that Sam Wilson for this one. And then the other thing it does is you can turn that shield into whatever card you want with him, which is Vicon. It's yet another cheap way to do that. Like, the downside of doing that is that you stick Sam at a 2-5. That's still a pretty good deal. From there, we have Juggernaut. Juggernaut is your last turn play. He's a game winner. If Iron Patriot's something incredible, you can Juggernaut Iron Patriot, but at the end of the game, people don't play around Juggernaut nearly enough. It is insanely strong. Wrecking Groot helps you control where your opponent plays cards and is one of the 5 best cards in the game. A lot of what this deck is doing is saying Iron Patriot, Sam Wilson, Rocket and Groot, Juggernaut, Galacta, Shang-Chi. These are the best cards in the game. How do we support them? And so Rocket and Groot is here, and it's amazing. It tells your opponent where to play. You can move it at the end of the game where you know they have to play and just get it really, really huge. There's a lot of just good stuff in the meta. Copycat's great for that. She's the least important card in the deck, period, bar none. She is 100% replaceable. There's no guarantee she's better than Red Guardian. There's no guarantee she's better than Gwenpool. She could just be worse than Kate Bishop. But when the meta is mid-range and a lot of top players, I play around the top 10% infinite. I'm going to finish the season around rank 500. So, and we'll talk about how I got there later in this video. But, like, there's a lot of mid-range. Good players love mid-range, and thus Copycat is in a lot of decks. She's got a lot of value. Shang, play at end of game, win. Power must be controlled. Galacta is your big power spike of the deck. You might notice everything in this deck has sort of low power. Galacta makes all this low power stuff a threat. That's why she's so amazing. The one power on her has felt utterly irrelevant unless I icon. Um, Ms. Marvel is the sleeper card of the deck. She is really, really good with Sam Wilson. Props to, I think actually Roram is the first person that came up with putting it in a Sam Wilson deck. And then we have the Sandman deck that we'll talk about later that she also ended up grading. But Ms. Marvel is back. She's really, really good. And this deck is sort of one of the ways in which she sings. Just being able to say, again, between Galactic and Ms. Marvel, I'm not playing anything high power, but I've got high power in lanes is very useful, especially when combined with Shang, Juggernaut, and Rocket and Groot to really combo off things. And Agamotto's a body you hope to never have to play in this list. Once in a while you will, but he's here for his spells. You can mess opponents up with, I always forget Winds of Atum. With Winds of Atum, that's a perfectly fine thing to do. You can have crazy combo plays where you get Ms. Marvel or Galacta and Icon as a surprise play, and that's sort of one of the ways you get big cubes. You can pull that all off thanks to the ball sack spell. You can even icon just like random other things. You get a really good copycat target. You can icon that. I've had lanes that have like Juggernaut with an Eitri in them, and then like I know that that's a lane that's going to be hard to win, but I'm ahead at that point, and I know on that last turn if I play icon on that, I'm able to steal a lane. There's a lot of stuff like that, even beyond the Galactus Shang-Chi type plays for icon that really really do make Agamotto worthwhile in this list. He is, again, not super required, but the spells do offer you some severe upside. I went both 14 and 3 on ladder, which is an 82% win rate, and I went 5 and 0 in Infinite Conquest, and I won my last Gold Conquest game with this, making me 6 and 0 at the top of Conquest. This got me an Infinity border. I got my Infinity Thanos border up. So turn 1, Loki if, we explained what those situations are previously. Eitri or Quinjet are fine pending hand. If you've got all your spells in hand, play Quinjet. If you've got some spells in deck, play Eitri. Turn 2 is Iron Patriot if you think you'll win. It's hard to know for sure unless you have already priority and you have either Watum or you have Watum or Rocket Group. Then you should be able to play Iron Patriot. If not, you just drop Sam perfectly fine. Turn 3, Balthak if you have Galacta and Icon or other combo cards. Uh, if not, you're playing Rocket Groot, generally speaking, over Copycat over 2+1. Turn 4, Galacta, snap condition. Over 2+2. If you didn't have any 2s earlier, you have extra 1s to play with 2s here, that's fine. Or that's especially good if you're setting up for an icon next turn. Or you can play Ms. Marvel. Sometimes you can play Balthak here with a 1-drop if you have a combo. A good combo for that would be Galacta, Icon, and then another 1-drop so that you can turn that 1 into an 11 power card. Balthak and a 2 is perfectly fine on turn 5 as well. Icon and 1, Agamotto, and early plays. All of these are perfectly acceptable. And then turn 6 is, generally speaking, Shang or Juggernaut plus. You're almost always trying to play control cards to end the game, although once in a while you'll play a surprise Ms. Marvel, once in a while you'll play an especially big Agamotto. That kind of play is perfectly fine. That's it. That's how you win with this list. This list is incredible. It is a gameplay deck. I'm in love with it. This is exactly how I like to play Marvel Snap, and I had a massive amount of success with it. Hey, if you're interested in checking out a stream, check out twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I will be streaming basically all day today. Should be live at like 1 and going till 5 or 6. And then my wife's going to a concert tonight, so I might also come back at night. We'll see how it's going. This is my schedule for the day, for the week. This is the last day. It's Sunday, 1 p.m. Hopefully see you there. And this isn't it. This is not your question. Chat, don't answer this question. The question is going to be on the last slide. All right, so next is Craven is the biggest. This is Sizer's secondary move list, his main move list, the one he's number 1 with, and he's up as many snap points in number 1 right now as Derek is. Like his distance above Derek is as close as Derek is to like number 7 right now. So I think it looks like Sizer is going to be number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard again, playing bounce move. I know we're all shocked, but I had more success with this version, and I think it's easier to play, and I actually enjoy it more. I know the other one bounces, but it's annoying to have to like plan 18 turns in a row. Plus, every time I don't play it for 2 weeks, I get rusty, while this one is simpler to play, so I don't get as rusty with it. The creator of this list is the number 1 player, Sizer. Sizer2654 is how you find him. This deck needs Aranya and Madam Web. Alith can be Juggernaut. This list can be broken up into fundamentally 2 parts. You have and then there's, I guess, a third. You have the movers and you have the scalers. Your movers are Aranya, Ghost Spider, Madam Web, Heimdall, Cloak. Cool. Those are your mover cards. Iron Fist. I don't think I said Iron Fist. Your payoffs are Human Torch, Vulture, and Dagger. Craven ends up operating more or less as a payoff. We talked about the way you can use Craven in that first deck. You can use him that way here, and then you also have the benefit of Heimdall, so you can make like 17 power Cravens. It's pretty good. Then you have the two control pieces that basically say, I know I'm making big things. You can't stop that. That's Cosmo and Alioth. They're your combo breakers. The trick to this list is learning how to play early or how to skip early and not play full energy. Saying, yeah, I'm just going to leave that extra card on the board. I'm just going to leave that extra energy floating because I know that if I have that extra one energy later, the extra one energy card of Ghost Spider, Iron Fist, whatever later, I can do something even better. The other trick is to learn to play left and center so that you can cloak right on turn 5. Cloaking right on turn 5 with Cosmo on the board is insane. You end up moving Craven and Cosmo over and then another card. You just have 3 huge cards there. And then when you play Heimdall, you feel unbeatable. There's a ton of stuff like that you can do with this list. It's incredibly strong. All right, I also went 14 through with this, 82%. This just doesn't have the Infinite Conquest win. Turn 1 Aranya, turn 2 Madam Web over a second move in Torch, which is better than Iron Fist for Vulture or Craven. Turn 3 Vulture if you either played Iron Fist or have Madam Web. You can also, or if you have Ghost Spider in hand, you can also Cosmo or Doctor Strange to move a card. If you have Cosmo and you have Vulture and Ghost Spider, feel free to play Cosmo here, and you can Vulture and Ghost Spider next turn just fine. Turn 4, second mover or get stuff back to Web. Turn 5, Cosmo or Craven and Cloak right. And then you play Alioth or Heimdall, whichever of the two makes more sense. It's one of the best decks in the game, and it's going to get a new card this month at the very end of the month. That's going to take it up yet another level. I don't know what to say. I think this is an absolute beast, a killer of a deck, and I urge you to give it a try if you have access to these cards. If you're interested in seeing some gameplay from these outside of me, please check out the stream team. The great O Behaved will be streaming today. Next up, we have Double Sauron. This one came from the Husky Discord. I didn't know it did. I found it on Untapped. But this one came from the Husky Discord, and I had a blast playing it. This is a smaller sample than the others. Not that the others are huge samples, but I felt like I couldn't lose with this, and it was absolutely amazing. So this is Double Sauron from Zenade and Tetatonics. They are two players on the Husky Puppies 35 Discord, and they created this list. So I found this on Untapped. I was like, oh, I want to try a Sauron list because they just buffed the card. So I tried it and I went 9-1, and then I was like, who the hell made this? And people were able to direct me in the right direction. I'm in Husky's Discord anyway, and I went and found them. Also, I don't know if you know the YouTube channel Marvel Snap Daily Dose. Have you ever heard of Marvel Snap Daily Dose, chat? Well, if you have, chat, viewer, if you have, go check it out. If you haven't, go check it out. I'm on yesterday's video. It's the like 35 power for 0 energy video. That's me with this list. So if you want to see it go completely off and win a game that looked like it had no business winning, you can go check that out. This deck needs Black Swan and Starbrand. Both of those cards are absolute requirements. Luna Snow can be Hope Summers. Hydra Bob can be Wasp. All right, let's go card by card. So Sauron is your ideal early play because if you can do it properly, you are skipping turn 5. If you get Luna out, you are skipping turn 5 with 6 energy, which is really, really nice, which means you have a 1/7 Sunspot. That's an Ebony Maw. And that's without saying I skipped any power earlier. Sunspot is absolutely insane in this list and 1000% worth it. 0 is honestly just sort of your backup Sauron here. It's fine to play at the end of the game. 1/3 isn't bad, but you're largely playing it. If you get Sauron, you're playing it at the end of the game with Titania reasonably often. That's a perfectly fine play. My package is sorry. Itchy. All right, got it. But you can also, if you like, don't have a play on turn 2, but you have Starbrand, for turn 3, you can just drop 0 into Starbrand. You can also do that later in the game just fine. That's a play you can make to the end of the game. And if you have nothing on turn 2 and you have 0 Maw and you don't have Sauron, you can just go 0 Maw on turn 2. It's a 10 power turn 2. It's still pretty good. Hydra Bob is here. You will happily play Hydra Bob at any point in the game. He doesn't really bother you or get in your way. So you just sort of drop him as a powerful card. If you double him, you're fine. If you play him late, you're fine. But he comes down whenever you want. And Titania is, outside of 0, basically exclusively a last turn play. She is, again, just big 1. Ebony Maw we sort of talked about. If you can double Ebony Maw, yay. If you can play Sauron with Ebony Maw, yay. If you can 0 Ebony Maw, yay. He's too much power for his cost. He's absolutely stellar. Sauron here as a 2/2 is what allows us to play this deck. There's a lot of Mobius in the meta. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is absolutely a lot of Mobius in the meta. And the Hitmonkey versions of this list absolutely die if they don't get the Black Swan thing going, if they don't get the cheap She-Hulk thing going. Well, what Sauron fundamentally says is I can still win those matchups. I still have gameplay. I can still pull off victories. And that's what makes this so cool. Sauron is absolutely incredible at making sure that your Starbrand can absolutely win lanes. There were games where I was playing last turn double She-Hulk, Ebony Maw, Titania, and Starbrand. That's just too much power, y'all. That's just too much power. Black Swan is how you do that absolute shenanigan nonsense. If you just play Moon Girl and skip, and you've got a single She-Hulk, right? If you play Luna Snow and then Moon Girl, and then you skip, you've got a free She-Hulk still. So you've got uh, 10 to 20 power She-Hulks, and then Titania, Hydra Bob, Zero, Ebony Maw. That's still only 4 energy. You skip one of those and you drop a Starbrand, for example, and you're just in great shape, right? That ends up working. So Luna is great here, but not required. She lets you do some silly combos, but she's not as important as she is in other versions. That's part of what gives this deck so much strength. Luna is better than Hope for 2 reasons. One, she's going to give you your energy. It's just going to sit there unless your opponent messes with you. It's just going to sit there, which is going to let you do the She-Hulk thing without any extra trouble. You don't have to worry about playing in her. You don't have to worry about getting clogged. If you just play her, you should be totally fine. She's great. She's also 6 power, and that's just a lot. There was a game where I drew her late, and you just like, all right, I'll happily play a 3/6. That seems fine to me. Like 6 power is just that's the power of a 4. You're getting it for 3. It's great. Starbrand, you're basically never playing in this list with his ability active, but you do have Zero and Sauron, so it's totally freaking fine. Drop Starbrand, have a great old time. I guess you could drop him sometimes, right? Like there's the location that only this location's power goes to everywhere else. You'd play Starbrand there. No one expects Shang-Chi in this list. Shang-Chi absolutely steals cubes. You will probably not have Prio because you're playing very little that matters early. And then in the last turn, you're like, here's a couple She-Hulks. Here's a Titania, an Ebony Maw. Oh, and I shonged your big thing? Yeah, it's nice. Moon Girl, getting free stuff is good. Getting free 10s is good. Getting 2 free 10s is better. Getting 2 free 1/7s is better, or 0/7s, or 0 whatevers. Like, Moon Girl is absolutely incredible in this list. This is about as good as she gets. And obviously, She Hulk is the combo, right? She's the biggest thing. Although I guess she's exactly as big as Starbrand. She's just significantly cheaper a lot of the time. Because you know what's cheaper than 3? 0. All right, so I went 9-1 with this. Turn 1, you want Sunspot over Bob. Turn 2, Sauron over Swan over Zero or Maul. Turn 3, Luna, and Luna can be a snap if you start to have your combos. Over Sauron Swan over Starbrand. And I never play Starbrand with an ability. That'll be a 0 into Starbrand, basically always. Turn 4, this is your last chance to Swan. Don't feel like you're beholden to it if you have like a perfect Moon Girl and She-Hulk and yada yada. So this is your last chance to Swan over Moon Girl. Turn 5, you pass or Moon Girl. If you played Swan on turn 4, you will now pass just fine. If you played Moon Girl, don't be afraid to play even Sauron on turn 5 is fine. Then turn 6, all the ones, She-Hulk and Starbrand, and you can easily drop 35 power for basically no energy. Chef's kiss, friends. Chef's kiss. Enjoy this list. Time for our last chance review of Khonshu. I didn't want to forget it, and we're getting close to the new season, so I figured I'd get this out of the way. Khonshu is a 6/5. He's got all these when discarded abilities, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's very good. I wanted him to be good. His stats aren't that good. He's fine in discard. Like if you really love discard, you can find uses for him, but he doesn't seem like a great card. It's possible once all the discard goes away that a little mini discard package that runs like Black Bolt and Stature and stuff with Khonshu will be a very, very good deck. And these decks are good, don't get me wrong. I just don't think they're great, and I don't think they're worth going out of your way for. So unless you really love discard and really want just new ways to play discard, or you're convinced that that Black Bolt Stature deck that runs Khonshu will be absolutely incredible, I think this one's relatively easy to skip. This month was this is also probably the best spotlight card this month. It's between this and Isan. At least as of release, I think Firehair will eventually be the best. This was a very weak card, a very weak month for cards. We talked about that on the podcast that released yesterday if you're interested. But yeah, my last chance review of Khonshu is probably a skip. Next up, we have JD Max Ratko version. Ratko did one thing here, so let's not go crazy here. Nebula is in this list over Hydra Bob and over Zabu. Nebula was very good though, not gonna lie. I played this on stream because Ratko used a deck redeem. This was literally today as of recording, yesterday as of you seeing this. But we did Racco did a deck redeem and was like, "We're considering playing this in a tournament. Can you play it?" And then I went 8-2. So I went 8-2 with another list, but it didn't have nearly as good a cube rate. And this list is a beast, so we should talk about it. So this is from our friend JD McDonaldino. Please do go check out his Twitch stream. He's great and streams all the damn time. Actually, he either streams all the damn time or like never, but lately all the damn time. This deck needs Ms. Marvel and Sam Wilson. Those are your non-negotiables. I think the better version of this has Galacta in for Captain Marvel, but either version is totally fine. Iron Patriot and Gorgon are nice, but whatever. Jeff, Cable, Mirage. Reluctant Groot is harder to replace, but Nocturne and Jeff are here for you as well. The reason you want some movers is because they help you with your Miss Marvel shenanigans. All right, let's go card by card. Nebula is really, really solid. She's just decent power. She forces your opponents to play in certain locations, certain ways, and that is often bad for them. Nebula with Rocket and Groot is absolutely great. Nebula after Iron Patriot is absolutely great. Gorgon is very good into a lot of the meta right now. The meta has moved on a little bit from him being absolutely busted, but he is still very good at disrupting opponents. He's also really, really good with Mobius and really great with Sandman. Iron Patriot is free power. We've talked about him a million times this video. Sam Wilson is really good at letting you enable your Ms. Marvel, much like he was in that previous deck we talked about. Thus, Sam Wilson is really good in this list. That's basically his use. He's decent power that gets you to Ms. Marvel. Mobius is an absolute requirement here. Mobius is so important because of Sandman. You don't want to be affected by Sandman. You want to be able to play a Gorgon and a Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel and an Iron Patriot, whatever the case may be on the last turn when you want, or a Shang with one of those cards, right? And Sandman says nope, but if you have Mobius, Sandman says you can, but your opponent can't, and that's great. Rocket and Groot is amazing with Nebula. It's also just one of the best cards in the game. Again, we've got yet another list that's running Iron Patriot, Sam Wilson, Rocket and Groot, Shang-Chi, just best cards go places. Rocket and Groot is great for this. Makari is free power. Be careful where you play your threes. Try and keep them mid so that they don't get in the way of Ms. Marvel, if possible. Because if Makari goes in the same lane as one, no more Ms. Marvel. Shang-Chi very often is just a thing you drop on the last turn of the game. You say, I've got enough power. You think you've got this lane one, I've got one lane one. Shang, bye, thanks. Captain Marvel is sort of a fake Ms. Marvel in this list. She says, I've got extra power. She does pay attention to where Ms. Marvel is, which is very nice and works out well. Ms. Marvel's a 415. We know how good Galacta is. Ms. Marvel is generally speaking 3 power bigger. She's also really, really good in smaller boards, and you use Mobius and Sandman to make sure your opponent can't overrun you. Sandman is like the key card in this list. Sandman plus Mobius is insane. If you're really sick of losing to Dokken combo or Bullseye, then this deck does that for you because when Bullseye tries to discard Dokken shards and they suddenly cost 2, you've won the game. When Swarms always cost 2/3, you've probably won the game. It's really hard for you to lose in those exact instances. From there, we have Dr. Doom, who's basically just saying, what if I just win by putting power all over the place? Same concept as Ms. Marvel. If you can do both, well, you've got 30 power on the board from 2 cards. That's pretty nice. Although, obviously, you need another card in each lane from Ms. Marvel. So, I went 8-2 with this list, and I'm just going to tell you right now, there's a secret reason I absolutely hate this list. It's that I'm so good with this kind of list. Like, the simple, like, I can just play cards straight up and decide what to do, decide what you're going to do, and outplay you with 1 to 2 cards each. If there's no shenanigans, if there's no unexpected things, that's part of the reason I hate Iron Patriot, because I get outplayed because I don't consider the 8,000 things Iron Patriot can be, right? I win with this list because this list doesn't have to worry about that kind of thing. It just turns into a straight up game, and I'm really good with it, and I find it kind of boring. But it wins. It wins an awful lot. Any list like that, I'm usually pretty good with. I just get bored of them very quickly. So turn 1, you want Nebula right. Turn 2, Iron Patriot over Sam, which is equal to Gorgon. Iron Patriot can be a snap condition on the conditions we discussed previously, while Gorgon is a snap condition if your opponent is like Arasham or Thanos. Turn 3, Mobius versus Rock and Groot. If they're playing negative, you can snap on Mobius. If you've got Sandman and you know what they're doing, you can, like if they're a Bullseye deck, you can snap Mobius. Mobius is often a snap condition. Rock and Groot's great. Feel free to just drop Rock and Groot. Sometimes, some games you are going to need both, though, so get yourself ready for that. If you go Iron Patriot, you probably need to follow Rock and Groot. Some of those games, you're also going to end up needing Mobius, so you're just going to play Mobius on 4. Turn 5, Ms. Marvel versus Captain Marvel is better than a 3. Turn 5, Sandman is better than a 4. And then turn 6 is Doom or Shang or Marvel Plus. If you played Sandman and they are and they've got Dokken shards and you've got Prio, feel free to drop that Gorgon on the last turn to make those shards more expensive. Although Sandman does the job alone, I guess. Gorgon will basically make those shards bullseye proof, is what I'm trying to tell you. So Doom, Shang, Marvel Plus. It's not a hard list to play, but you do have to consider your placement very carefully. Consider what your opponent's going to do very carefully. If you can do that, you're going to win a lot of games of Marvel Snap with it. This list is incredibly, incredibly strong. Cool. So far, so good. That's our 5 list that we had the most success with this season. Please note the one I played the most was about 20 games. So let's go over my season instead of doing question of the day. So I played 600 games this season. That is a solid 400-ish more than I used to. I used to play significantly less Snap. Then I started streaming, and now I play almost all those 600 games. Not all, but almost all. I would say 550 of those were on stream. I had a 53.5% win rate. My win rate almost every week was like 56 or 57%, and I had one very bad week. Firehair week was bad for me. Uh, so week one, I hit infinite. I was around top 100 with Agamotto and Isan. This is the list I used to hit infinite. I hit infinite on day 2. I always hit infinite within the first week. I refused to stay up all night on the first day of the season to hit infinite. We'll be doing our infinite climb this Tuesday on stream. We'll start it there. We'll finish it at some point. So if you're interested in checking that out, please do. We often invite some of our friends to hang out with us while we do so. So I hit infinite right away. I was around rank 90, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day, and I was already like rank 200, and I sat around rank 200 for another couple weeks. So overall, I had a really, really good start to the season. I love Agamotto. I think Isan's a really fun card. That's not really OP. Um, First week was also Sanctum Showdown, and to me, Sanctum Showdown was a home run. It gave people a lot of cards. Yes, it was a grind, but the Twitch drops really, really helped. I think Sanctum was an absolute, absolute great, great mode. Start of the season couldn't have gone any better for me. Week 2 was Starbrand, and Starbrand was a dud of a card for me, but I also had my Twitch front page that week, which was the single most successful day in the Twitch's history for me, and one of the most successful days to the channel. It was unbelievable how much support we got. Literally almost cried. Just absolutely brilliant and wonderful day. So like huge, huge day of growth for the channel, even if Starbrand was sort of a dud. And Starbrand was definitely sort of a dud. Because that was also the week that they nerfed, changed. They didn't even really nerf it because it brought Ms. Marvel back, right? They changed Sam Wilson's shield to be 0 cost. So Starbrand was a bit of a dud, but it's sort of good now. It's like not bad at least because they changed Sauron 2 weeks later. Week 3 was Firehair, and I lost all my ranks. I was ranked like I was floating around like 190, and then I'd be in like 200, and then they'd be like 250, and then Firehair came out. The first day Firehair came out, I tested every Firehair deck, and I had a ridiculously bad win rate, and I ended up like pulling myself up to like a low 50% cube rate, but low 50% win rate, but my cube rate was so bad, I was just down so much. Firehair did not work out for me. I had like 2 good Firehair decks. Um, and that Sizer one still, I ended up 8-2 with it, same as I did with that other one. It's just there's no repeatability with that, right? The Firehair is a card that doesn't work right now. The other twos are just better. Its tempo is too rough. It's a fun card, but I don't think it's good. High Voltage also came back this week. High Voltage actually felt strangely grindy for me this season, largely because I wanted to finish High Voltage before Khonshu came out, because I wanted first Ghost Rider to properly test Khonshu, which was annoying as heck, but Voltage is still relatively easy and fun, and I don't know why, but Voltage views always do on the channel, and that's nice. My rank fell apart. Week 4 was Khonshu. That was the last week of the season, and that week is going to wrap up what is going to be our most successful month ever on here on Snap Judgment. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for all your support. We are only 400 subscribers from 20 freaking thousand, which is just mind blowing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Khonshu we talked about already. And I floated back around. I fell down to like 800 in the fire week, and I'm back up to about 500 now, and I'm not grinding at all. So that's where I'm gonna finish this damn season. Cool. One last look at the deck I had Infinite with, thanks to our friend BitTwiddle, who does all of our thumbnails and beautiful graphics for the channel. So if you need some support for any of that, please reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with BitTwiddle, who really, really does deserve more work. Yeah, this is the deck I had Infinite with. Props to Bit. Certain tier support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. Let's say thank you to some people and end this video. Thank you to our patron of the month, Absolute Shannon, the great Abigail Gieson, Mandatory Burnout, Irregardless, LAB, Inc., I am Frostman, Hota Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Ryans, Kirtix Lee, Corey Kazuchi, Archangel 3K, Gaze, Black Dahlia, Frost, the Goat Seeker, Alliances, Hallowed, Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, no key name for all of you. Fat Nick, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginge Prime, Philip Rakovich, Rakko, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Biz, Black Jeebus 23, Extras V, and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slush Death, Kinger Bros, Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kepsi Hoda, Ludacris, Glam, Colonel Forbin, Bricks to Click, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G, Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Mr. Craig Sterry, Matt V, Real Name Town, Ren Wrench, Corbin, Drunk You, and Jimmy McHugh, Q Town, Yistout, Ace Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, welcome back, One Big Man, appreciate you. Milkman for Reals, Cactus, thanks for hanging too. BG, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decision Show, Models, My Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, The Fazanel Inspectionist, Hoot, Aku, Laris, Sup Aku, Matt H, DJ, Mikey, Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Nick, the Greek Geek, Zodrex, the King of Canada, Denman, Falcon, Father Newman, Jonesy, Two Tides, the Great Lordettes, the Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunny, T, where the T stands for. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you on stream today or in tomorrow's video. Don't forget, new season's coming. Get hyped. I know I am. Peace.